On the evening of June 10, 2025, after spending 3 decades behind bars, Anthony Floyd Wainwright's life came to a quiet end inside Florida's execution chamber. But behind that sterile death lies a tale of chaos, cruelty, and a shattered family that never recovered. This isn't just the story of a killer. It's the tragic unraveling of lives caught in a storm of violence. Tonight, we uncover the full, disturbing journey of Anthony Wainwright, from troubled youth to convicted murderer, from courtroom drama to his haunting final words. Anthony Floyd Wainwright wasn't always a monster. He entered the world on October 22, 1970, in North Carolina, a child beset by ailments and accidents before he could even walk. As a baby, he battled constant illness. Colic, bronchitis, and pneumonia shadowed his earliest days. As he grew, head injuries followed him like bad omens. 3 separate falls sent him to the ER, each leaving scars deeper than what the stitches could close. But physical pain was only part of his story. Anthony was always on the fringes, quiet, withdrawn, invisible even in his own home. Where other kids chased balls and shouted under the sun, he curled into his own silence. His mother, overwhelmed and often absent, later admitted she wished she'd been around more during those fragile early years. Her regret would become the echo that followed him into infamy. By grade school, the signs were undeniable. Anthony struggled with learning and behavior. He wet the bed until he was 14, a humiliation that ensured he never had sleepovers, never got close to anyone. Diagnoses of auditory processing disorders and learning delays came too late. By then, Anthony had come to believe the world had no place for him. His downward spiral found structure in North Carolina's prison system. In his early 20s, Anthony was convicted of auto larceny and sentenced to 10 years. It was there, in the locked corridors of Carter Correctional Institution, that his fate was sealed. He met another inmate, Richard Eugene Hamilton, an older career criminal with nothing to lose. Together, they were a volatile match. 2 men with chips on their shoulders and vengeance in their hearts. In April 1994, they slipped through the cracks of minimum security and vanished into the night. It wasn't a spontaneous escape. Every move had been orchestrated, right down to the getaway car, arranged by Hamilton's girlfriend. They drove through town in stolen vehicles, stopped at shopping centers to change clothes, and even burglarized a home for firearms, a 16-gauge shotgun, a .30-30 rifle, and a .22 caliber bolt-action. The shotgun was sawed off for easier concealment, a cold modification that would later play a role in unimaginable horror. By April 27, 1994, they arrived in Lake City, Florida. That morning, 23-year-old Carmen Gayhart was living an ordinary day. A devoted nursing student and loving mother of 2, Carmen had spent the morning in class, run errands with her best friend, and stopped at a Winn-Dixie supermarket for groceries. Wearing a pink t-shirt and jean shorts, she hurried through her list, eager to pick up her children from daycare before noon. She never made it. As she loaded groceries into her Ford Bronco, Hamilton approached with the sawed-off shotgun hidden beneath his shirt. He forced her into the vehicle at gunpoint while Wainwright followed in the stolen car. They abandoned the first vehicle behind a lumber yard and transferred the weapons. Carmen, sobbing and begging for her life, was forced to lie face down in her own car. Every tear and every plea was met with silence or violence. They drove her out to a desolate stretch of woods behind a truck stop, far from anyone who could help. There, Carmen was stripped of her clothes and her dignity. Both men took turns sexually assaulting her, repeating empty promises that she would be let go. But she had seen their faces. She was never going to leave those woods alive. Hamilton retrieved the .22 caliber rifle and forced her to the ground. 1 shot to the head wasn't enough. He reloaded and fired again. They left her there, half buried in pine needles, like trash. And then they drove away in her Bronco, free for now. The next day, in Mississippi, State Trooper John Wayne Leggett noticed the out-of-state Bronco speeding through Lincoln County. Something didn't sit right. When he initiated a traffic stop, Wainwright hit the gas, and Hamilton began firing out of the rear window. A deadly chase unfolded. 5 to 10 minutes of bullets, high speeds, and adrenaline. The Bronco crashed into a tree. Hamilton emerged wounded by gunfire, holding the shotgun, but too slow to get off a final shot. Wainwright fled into the woods, but was captured soon after. His first words to the arresting officer were filled with venom. "Go ahead and shoot me. I've got nothing to lose." But the justice system wasn't going to give him that out so easily. Back in Florida, Carmen's disappearance ignited a community-wide search. It was only through Hamilton's confession and a crudely drawn map that police found her decomposed body in the woods on May 2nd. The truth, once uncovered, was more horrific than anyone had imagined. DNA from the Bronco confirmed Wainwright's role in the assault. Both men confessed, though each blamed the other for the murder. In 1995, 2 separate juries found them guilty on all counts: murder, kidnapping, sexual battery, and robbery. Wainwright's jury unanimously sentenced him to death. Hamilton's jury was 10-2 in favor of the same. For 30 years, Wainwright fought his sentence. Every appeal, state, federal, even to the U.S. Supreme Court, was denied. Hamilton, meanwhile, escaped execution through another route. He died of natural causes in 2023. After the trials ended and the media moved on, Anthony Wainwright was locked away in the darkness of Florida's death row. He spent the next 30 years behind concrete and steel, filing appeal after appeal, each one more desperate than the last. At first, Wainwright remained defiant, blaming his attorneys, questioning the evidence, claiming unfair treatment. But as the years wore on and cell doors closed day after day, something shifted. Those close to the case said Wainwright grew quieter, more introspective. Whether it was guilt, weariness, or manipulation is something only he knew. But time, the great equalizer, never stopped. His final appeal was rejected in April 2024 by the U.S. Supreme Court. With that decision, the long chapter of legal arguments came to an end. On May 10, 2025, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed Anthony Wainwright's death warrant. The execution was scheduled for June 10th. There would be no more delays. In the final day of his life, Anthony Wainwright remained isolated in a cell just feet away from Florida's execution chamber. The prison offered him the traditional final meal option, but Anthony declined any special requests. Instead, he was served the standard institutional dinner, a bland tray of food he barely touched. He ate nothing. Outside the prison, a small group of supporters and opponents of capital punishment gathered. But for the family of Carmen Gayhart, this was not a day for protest signs or chants. This was the end of a nightmare they'd been reliving for 3 decades. Inside, the execution team prepared the gurney. Witnesses, including members of the Gayhart family, filed into the chamber. The air was thick with silence. At 6:00 p.m., the doors opened, and Anthony Wainwright was brought in. Strapped to the table, IV lines running into his arms, Wainwright was asked if he had any last words. What followed was a mix of anger, love, and defiance. He began with gratitude for the people who had supported him and for his wife, Samantha. "It has truly been overwhelming," he said, voice steady. "It has meant so much to both of us." Then he turned to the state of the justice system. "The court system is broken," he declared, "especially in Florida. Please continue the fight because I can promise you they're not going to let up." But he didn't stop there. He used his final moments to name the attorney he believed had failed him. "I hope nobody forgets how terrible of an attorney B.A. Harrison has been to all of us guys on the row. He truly might be Florida's worst attorney." And finally, he addressed Carmen's family directly. "To the family of Carmen Gayhart, I hope my death brings you peace and healing." His voice softened as he turned to his wife. "My beautiful wife, Samantha, you are the love of my life. The years we spent together have been downright magical. Love is stronger than death." His last words echoed the famous quote from William Goldman. "Death cannot stop true love. All it can do is delay it for a little while." Then the chemicals began to flow. The room was still. Anthony's eyes slowly closed. His mouth hung open. The drugs traveled through his veins, shutting down his body with silent efficiency. Within minutes, he was completely still. At 6:22 p.m. Eastern Time, Anthony Floyd Wainwright was declared dead. The state had delivered justice.